What it is, YouTube? It's your boy DC coming back with another bullseye of a video here today on the channel. We're gonna be doing a breakdown of free FLP of Timberland. So this is the second time that I'm doing a FLP of a free FLP of Timberland, and I just think Timberland is so dope. Every time I come back to Timberland's like beats, like his production, it always gives me more ideas of mixing and textures and tone. I think Timberland is the king of getting things to be bouncy and sound huge. They remind me of a bounce house, like when you was legit in an inflatable bounce house. Like that's what Timberland's music sounds like, just a fun world of movement and body. So if you guys do like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check the links down below to get access to the free FLP. Y'all download it, check the links to support the channel. Let's get to it. So right now we're looking over here, and I studied a lot of Missy Elliott. You know, she's got a lot of great songs with Timberland, and it's always about building that relationship. So that's why we went ahead with the understanding that it's all about, imagine that, a producer and a rapper is like a WWE wrestlers. They're like tag team partners. You feel me? They're a team. They got to get along together to win the match, which is like they're wrestling against the song. Because sometimes when you're working on some music, it feels like a wrestling match. You're trying to figure things out. You're going back and forth with your ideas mentally. What does the song want and everything? So with Timberland's music, I love the bass. He always was known for great bass, so I feel like to get a sound like that, you need saturation, right? You need density, you're right, and something like a decapitator on A mode will give you that, because it's not only the fact that his the basses are big, but they're also smooth. So I would use something like the A mode, knowing that it's an Ampex tape preamp. It's gonna give me the body of, like, the transformer, but it's also gonna give me that smooth round low end that makes Timberland's music hit in the club, that makes it to where you want to turn it up because it's not harsh. Nowadays you might see some situations where like some certain sounds just sound too harsh. It's because of the texture, it's because of the shape, the pointiness. Certain sounds are like that. These sounds just kind of sound rounder, and that's because of the waveform. So also another thing too, to get the bass to feel more solid as well, as just a little bit of compression. I learned this from watching Tizio mix, that he likes to use like a Pro C, and sometimes just using a little bit of hard knee compression, like 4 dB. Now, for the ratio of 4, just something that's a hard knee can really add that density. You feel me? So yeah, a good release, fast attack, I would use something like that and tap it a dB or two, and it just makes things feel more solid. Like if you took a bunch of items and you put them in a box and you boxed it up, now all of those items that were around your room are now concentrated into this box, which feels more like solid, and it feels more heavy. You feel me? Because they're all together concentrated. So that's why I would do that. In terms of something like the sub bass, I know I love this plugin too, and this is what's going to give you a punchy low end, using something like low and focus by Ozone. This is one of the few tools that makes me think of the shape, like how I've been talking about the shape of low end, right? Using something like the punchy setting. I like this because you can go negative, you can go positive. Maybe you have too much punch and you want to diminish it. You can pull it back, but you usually want more punch, right? So you got punchy and you got smooth. And I just love how a plugin like this works on the transient energy of the low end to bring more out of it, to get it to hit harder without adding more volume, without adding more level and stuff like that. So that's really good. All right. So after that, we find ourselves at the kick. I would definitely use the JST clipper. I like this clipper over a lot of other clippers because you get to parallel blend that whole. So you just going for your mid-range distortion, like Timberland has on like the Justin Timberlake tracks. A lot of the Timberlake tracks, they're pop, but they hit hard. Another great song is Too Late to Apologize. You feel me? So rather than having to jack up all this volume and trying to turn up the kick, we can get more life out of the kick by using something like parallel distortion. And we're going to be using parallel clipping to help us achieve that Tabasco hot sauce flavor. The times two oversampling is a great thing too on this plugin, one of the greater clippers. All right. I would definitely look to get more girth out of the snares. Nowadays, a lot of snares kind of feel thin. If you compare it to like Timberland stuff, his the reason why all of his mixes sound big is because everything had a nice distribution of fat. You can have two people who weigh 200 pounds. One of them got a big old belly, then another person who weighs 200 pounds, but they work out and they're athletic. It's still the same weight, but it's evenly distributed. And that's why I would go with snare girth for a Timberland snare, because I understand that that snare being bigger too is a part of the whole the perception of why the mixes feel like gigantic. Like his mixes, his songs feel gigantic. They hit hard, bro. They have impact. You feel me? That's what I love about Timberland. Timber. You feel me? So yeah, then hi-hats, I think the standard plugin has to be the soothe too, because it just works, and it's because of the texture component of going into the sharpness and playing around with the sharpness. If you got some hi-hats you want to be shaped a different way, you can just play around with this one knob and kind of get it to just feel texturally different. And if you want to get it to be like needle sharp on the soothe, that in itself will bring more of a tick 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 aluminum foiled Reynolds wrap type of sound to the hi-hats, more aluminum foily type of sound, which is really cool. So that's why I like to use soothe, not because of the fact that it takes out the harshness, but because of the sharpness mode and how it gets to shape the shape of the hi-hats. Okay, open hi-hats, wouldn't put nothing. But the Shadow Hills mastering bus compressor, I think, would be great for a Timberland drum bus compressor because of the different transformers you get. So these transformers are going to add more weight. They're going to add sometimes also more brightness to the drums as well, and more presence, helping them cut through. And this plugin, I wouldn't use the optical component, the optical compressor part, because the optical components are usually a little bit slower. You feel me? Depending on the tempo of the song, maybe if it was a slow song, maybe I would use maybe a touch of it. But for the most part, the VCA is what's gonna give more presence, more emphasis, more knock, more of that harder hitting sound that Timberland has. And a side internal sidechain compressor is great too, because it will be focused more on the actual percussive elements, maybe in the upper mid range or the just the regular mid range, that will start to help us get more of the grooving feeling. Another great thing too about this plugin is the dual mono. You feel me? You can do the dual mono too, which will kind of like, you feel me. Each side, left and right side, is mono side, so they could do a different amount of compression, which is cool. Which can add more waviness and more wobbliness and more rhythm, so you can unwind the rhythm even more. Versus where a standard stereo compressor, what it might do is it might just compress both sides evenly when it doesn't need to, and it might feel more uniform. It might feel more like a Dickies fit, khakis shirt. It's gonna feel more like a school uniform. So it's gonna lose some individualism with the rhythm. The Fairchild 670, I think, is a great tool to use on keys because these have tubes which are gonna add some weights. So a lot of the ways we've been achieving the weight so far is not through mostly EQ, but through mostly understanding the components of these plugins. And I know Jimmy Douglas was mixing a lot of Timberland stuff back in the day, and that's what his mixing mindset had a little bit of in there too, taking advantage of the gear and the feeling that the gear would bring, the weight that the gear would bring, because it definitely does bring weight due to the fact that you got more density. You know what I mean? It's like if you take an apple, then you put it through some honey. Now, if you weighed that apple again, it would be a little bit heavier when it didn't have the honey on it, because now this thing has wrapped itself around the apple, which is the honey, adding weight and adding more volume to the shit. You feel me? So that's where we find ourselves at with that. Okay, cool. And the pianos could always benefit from something like that, like on Apologize. And a lot of great Justin Timberlake songs. The pads too. I noticed that on the song that he got with Carrie Wilson, you feel me? There's a lot of fluttering, there's a lot of techno type of stuff. So Crystallizer is another great thing too, because it brings it like a fluttering echo and effect that really helps synthesizers, granular echo synthesizer. So you can do some cool, club type of effects. A tremolator is always gonna be great. I ain't got no money. You feel me? So like everything is rhythm. It's a whole community. It's a whole environment of music and sound that's growing up. That's growing onto you type shit. So yeah. And then when the music bus, I would use retro 20. I just like this plugin a lot because of like the noise, the wobble, the distort, just all the little artifacts that you can get to make things feel a little bit more non-linear, a little bit more spontaneous. That's what Timberland's music sounds like to me. Non-linear, a little bit spontaneous. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Okay. um, then for like Justin Timberlake type of stuff, I feel like a Neve 1073 as well as a Tube Tech CL1B. Those things are usually like perfect, because they bring in a certain type of feeling. Okay, they bring in a certain warmth and a certain pop brightness. They let you get brighter without bringing in bad stuff. So I would use that Fat Filter Pro MB to control the low mid and the SSLE, just like how Jimmy Douglas would use it back in the day. So I just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You want to grab the preset? Well, go ahead and check it down below. And support the channel, and we'll keep dropping more great videos. Appreciate y'all now. Peace.